Hello and welcome to Parents Guide to Games. Before we get started, if you could please subscribe. Here are the games coming week of December 1st, 2020. The first game on our list is Chronos Before the Ashes. This is coming on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, Nintendo Switch, Google Stadia, and PC. The rating is teen. The content descriptions: blood, mild language, and violence. This is an action role-playing game in which players assume the role of a fighter trying to save the land from a great evil. From a third-person perspective, players can explore ancient labyrinths while battling fantasy enemies in melee combat. Characters fight using swords, spears, and clubs. Combat is highlighted by impact sounds, light effects, and cries of pain. Enemies emit small splashes of blood when struck, and some levels depict pools of blood on the ground. Swear words appear in the game text. Next up is Twin Mirror. This is coming on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. The rating is mature. The content descriptions: blood, drug references, strong language, and use of alcohol and violence. This is an adventure game in which players assume the role of an investigating reporter returning to his hometown. As players progress through the storyline, they interact with locals and be presented with various dialogue selection and action choices. Some sections result in acts of violence, recreating in Sam's mind a fistfight, a character shooting a man in the chest. Blood sometimes appears underneath corpses on characters' clothing. As players explore the town, they can interact with drug dealers, find an empty satchel. During one sequence, players can choose to set a character in a high state and recreate a car crash. One bar sequence depicts a child holding a half-empty glass of beer in a bar. Accompanying dialogue states, "Put that down, Kathy. What's your underage child doing drinking?" Swear words are heard in the game. Now let's take a look at Immortals: Fenyx Rising. This is coming on PlayStation 5, Xbox Series X, Nintendo Switch, Google Stadia, and PC. The rating is teen. The content descriptions: language, suggestive themes, and violence. This is an action-adventure game in which players assume the role of a demigod on a quest to defeat a titan and restore Greek god and goddesses to power. Players explore mythological-themed environments, perform quests, and battle fantasy creatures. Players use hammers, swords, arrows, and elemental abilities to defeat enemies in close-quarter combat. Fights can be frantic, highlighted by impact sounds, screen shaking, and slow-motion effects. Enemies generally burst into particles or get blown back a great distance when defeated. The game contains some innuendos and suggestive humor in dialogue. Swear words appear in the dialogue. And the last game on today's list is Dragon Quest XI S, Echoes of an Elusive Age Definitive Edition. This is coming on PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. The rating is teen. The content descriptions: crude humor, fantasy violence, mild blood, simulated gambling, suggestive themes, and use of alcohol. This is a role-playing game in which players assume the role of a hero who must defeat the evil force on the land of Iradia. From a third-person perspective, players explore towns, complete quests, and battle fantasy creatures and advance the storyline. Combat is turn-based, with players selecting attack moves, skill, and items from a menu. On-screen characters perform short animations for each action, using swords, crossbows, and magic spells to defeat enemies. Cutscenes sometimes depict characters getting impaled. A handful of scenes depict dead soldiers on the ground. One enemy is called Bloody Hand and is represented by a disembodied hand dripping with red, slime-like blood. The game contains some suggestive material: a female character wearing low-cut tops or bunny outfits, male characters caught with girly magazines, innuendos, and dialogues. During the course of the game, characters can enter a casino and bet tokens on games such as slot machines, roulette, and poker. Some characters are depicted drunk in pubs or party environments. Players have the ability to acquire horse manure as an inventory item. One cutscene depicts a character placing a lump of feces in a character's hands. Big shout out to bensound.com for the music. Please follow Parents Guide to Games on Facebook at Parents Guide to Games, on Twitter at ParentsG2G, and email any questions or comments to parentsg2g@gmail.com. Thank you for watching, and please subscribe.